It's been 4 months since the controversial launch of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it's only now that the game is being updated to mitigate its originally implemented god-awful progression system and monetization scheme. A few days ago, on March 16th, 2018, after 4 long months of deafening silence, EA and DICE finally provided details on how they would be overhauling the game in response to the backlash. They talked about a linear progression system with upgrades that can only be earned by gaining experience points via gameplay, loot boxes that can no longer be bought and only contain cosmetic items like emotes and victory poses, as well as upfront cosmetic-only microtransactions players can buy with either the premium currency or with in-game currency earned through gameplay. All very sensible revisions and big steps in the right direction. The update finally went live a few days ago on March 21st, 2018, and everything that was promised was indeed there. Microtransactions has still not been activated though. That will happen sometime in April. But as far as fixes for a broken progression system goes, it did exactly what it's supposed to do. On top of all that, players were pleasantly surprised to find that the update also unlocked all of the game's hero characters. You may recall that iconic heroes like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader being locked behind exorbitant grind and fees was one of the biggest topics of contention that sparked the Battlefront 2 fiasco wildfire. It was in response to backlash against locked heroes that EA gave the infamous sense of pride and accomplishment statement, which would become the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. Well, it looks like EA and DICE got the message loud and clear, as they have opted to completely undo their originally intended insidious scheme. Players will now be able to play as iconic heroes of their choice with no strings attached, and that includes hero ships like the Millennium Falcon. Now, as I've mentioned before, I do not believe that any of this merits congratulations, as it's still rather shameful that it took a debacle of such epic magnitude for EA to finally decide to make Battlefront 2 into what it should have been in the first place, a proper game and not a Star Wars-themed casino. I think that for a lot of people, the lingering sour taste that Battlefront 2 left in our mouths will be too pungent to forget. However, I will acknowledge this, looking at the update for what it is, it does seem as though EA and DICE absolutely nailed this patch, fixing just about everything that was wrong with the original version of the game in one fell swoop. When it was announced that Battlefront 2 would temporarily disable microtransactions and that the team was reevaluating the game's progression system and monetization scheme, I braced myself for a boilerplate half-assed measure with catches. I fully expected that we would be looking at another Destiny 2 scenario where, for every fix, there was always some kind of catch or another shady system to take its place like a sick game of whack-a-mole. You may recall that when it was discovered that Destiny 2 secretly throttled XP while they did turn off the scummy system, the catch was that they secretly doubled XP requirements. When Bungie tried to mitigate Destiny 2's lack of content with expansions like the Curse of Osiris DLC and the Dawning event, the catch was that they had planned to lock old vanilla content behind the new DLC, and that most of the Dawning event specific items were relegated to the abhorred Eververse marketplace and its engram loot boxes, with gameplay rewards being throttled to encourage microtransactions purchases. Bungie later also repeated the same mistake by throttling Destiny 2's Faction Rally tokens during the Faction Rally event, pissing off the community yet again. And while the game finally seems to be getting its shit together in 2018, it took a long while to get to this point, and progress is still very slow. By comparison, Star Wars Battlefront 2's fix swiftly and thoroughly tackled all of the game's most criticized problems in one go and offered what I think is the best possible compromise given the circumstances. They pulled no punches in getting this update right on the first try. If Battlefront 2 had launched like this from the get-go, I think the gaming community would have been perfectly content with the game and we wouldn't be having this conversation. It is important to keep in mind, however, that while the update is a big step in the right direction, the fact still remains that this was all in reaction to massive uproar, tons of negative media coverage, and looming threat of government intervention. If EA truly intends to prove that they're striving to become better and more consumer-friendly as a company, all their future titles moving forward need to take cues from Battlefront 2's revision. If future EA games like Anthem, Battlefield 5, Battlefront 3, and whatnot can ship the way that Battlefront 2 was overhauled, meaning linear progression, no paid loot boxes, and upfront microtransactions that are tied to cosmetic-only items which can also be earned through gameplay, then we can start talking about patting the notorious publisher in the back. Until I see that though, I won't give EA anything beyond the acknowledgement that they did nail Battlefront 2's recent overhaul, which I'm sure had in no small part to do with the work that the talented folks over at DICE put in. That's not me thanking or congratulating EA, that's me saying this is good, so let's see that in all other EA games at launch moving forward, and let's never inch towards a scummy practice like what Battlefront 2 tried to pull ever again. Only then can EA begin regaining anything remotely resembling goodwill from an apprehensive gaming community. The true test isn't what EA is doing now, it's what they're gonna do in the future if they are gonna nail game launches on the first try with consumers in mind. That is, I think, when EA will show us their true colors and if they've learned anything from all this. These are all just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.